Hello and welcome to Coffee Chat. My name is Emily Kimball and I'm with the Kentucky Commission on the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. I'm one of the information coordinators for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing at this agency. Today I have Rachel who will be interpreting for me. So if you don't mind, I'll turn this over to her and we will continue on with the chat. Thank you, Rachel. So today we are going to talk about the driver's license regional office. As you all know, for many, many years, we've gone to our circuit courts, the circuit clerk court's house to take care of all of our driver's license needs. In 2020, a law was passed and the transportation cabinet had accepted this role of taking care of all of our driver's license needs, whether we need a new one or need to get them renewed. So we have Matthew Cole here. He's the commissioner, and he's going to give us some details and some information that will be helpful when it comes to that time to get our driver's license renewed. So Matthew, what are some of the things that we are going to see through these changes in the next several months?
Well, the next thing that we'll see is all licensing services will gradually move from the office of the circuit court clerks over to driver's license regional offices. We'll need to have that completed by June 30th of 2022. What that means is you'll come to a regional office to renew your driver's license, commercial driver's license, motorcycle, or identification card. You'll also visit our office if you're a first-time Kentucky card holder, like a permit holder, or if you move to Kentucky as a transfer and need a new license. State police will still oversee the written, vision, and road testing, and you can go to their websites to schedule a test. We have almost 20 regional offices strategically located across the state at this time, with more offices scheduled to open soon. We have closed in collaboration with the circuit clerks and AOC some of the circuit clerk offices, and will continue to do that until we have all of the credential issuance removed from their offices and into the KYTC regional offices. This is a new era for driver's licensing in Kentucky. As you mentioned, the law was passed in 2020, and while it is a big change, there's lots of advancements that we're excited to see happen over the next couple of years.
Wonderful. What are some of the benefits that having everything moved to these regional offices, what are those benefits that we should see and perhaps experience as we go to these offices?
The first thing that a lot of people will notice is that we have online appointment scheduling available. We want to make sure that people are it's as convenient a process as possible. This allows for someone to select a day and a time that works best for them. We do still take walk-ins, but only at a limited basis. Once we've kind of filled all the walk-in slots for the day, anyone that shows up at that point would be encouraged to come the next day for another available walk-in slot. So we do encourage appointments, but we understand that sometimes emergencies do arise, and that's when walk-in appointments will help as well. A change that we've seen in legislation is it used to be you had to go to your circuit court clerk's office in your county of residence. But with this change to the transportation regional offices, you can now go to any location in the state, whatever is most convenient for you. So if you work across the state or you're on the road a lot, this will be a big convenience for people just to give them options. We've included the option of a 4-year or an 8-year credential in all cases except for commercial driver's licenses. Those will remain at 8 years because we encourage the drivers to stay on the road, and we know that they don't need to come see us all the time. So anything that keeps them driving is always a very important thing. People can choose between a standard or a real ID. It is a voluntary system. If someone says, I don't plan on flying anywhere, I don't plan on going to restricted federal bases, restricted federal buildings or military bases, then they can stay with a standard credential. But we just want to make them have an informed decision of knowing if they do want to do those activities, they will be required to be able to produce a real ID credential at that time. We are working on a new program which will allow for people to renew their driver's licenses online. And we're very excited to see that service come because we think that will be a great convenience. So you could do it in the middle of the day or the middle of the night, whatever works best. With one agency overseeing all the regional offices, we'll try to provide a more consistent experience, and customer service is always our highest priority.
While this transitioning is happening over the next several months, it's important to know where we need to go. Some counties have already moved to their regional offices, and their circuit clerk's office are no longer doing it. And then some are still, so it can be a little confusing if you're not sure where am I supposed to go. So what is the best place to find that information?
That's a great question. The perfect resource for everyone is, again, our website, drive.ky.gov. It will contain all the information on where to go, what you need to bring, cost. It's an endless resource for everything driver's license and ID cards. We encourage people to become very familiar with the site and use it as a resource. It'll prevent those follow-up trips that we don't want anyone to have to take.
Yes, I've had a chance to look at those websites, and it's just so nicely broken down into categories.
Mhm.
And it's just easier to find all that information. So for those that don't have access to internet or just not able to find that information, feel free to contact the Commission on the Deaf and Hard of Hearing or the Transportation Department, and we'll all be glad to make sure we find that place where you need to go, because that it can be confusing just not knowing exactly which office you need to go before you make a wasted trip. And so with that being said, we recently learned that Real ID enforcement date got pushed again. It was supposed to be this October, but when COVID hit, it kind of changes something. So can you let us know when that date is now going to enforce that? And can they go on and still get their Real ID now, if it's time for that?
Yes, they can come get a Real ID anytime that they like. With that the Real ID enforcement date being moved back from October 1st of this year, it's now been moved to May 3rd of 2023. So that will give us about 2 years to give everyone a chance to come in and see us at their convenience. It's always easiest when they're in their renewal period, because then they can just renew it and move their expiration date out. But if they've already renewed their license and they decide they want to come get a Real ID prior to the enforcement date, a duplicate copy is only $15. So it's not like they get hit with a double cost. So we encourage anyone to come see us. And if they just have questions, they can reach out to us anytime just for us to provide some guidance.
That's good to know. As we know with the Real ID, it's kind of like we got to bring all these documentation to do the paperwork. And now that we are going to regional offices, we want to make sure that everyone has the appropriate documents to take with them so that they feel like their trip was worthwhile to get it all done. So where's the best place to get all that information so they'll know what they need to bring for their appointment?
That's one of the resources that we have on our website. So if they go to drive.ky.gov, we will have something on there called the iDocument Guide. And it's an invaluable tool that tells people exactly which documents to bring, cuts out the confusion, and it takes into the many variables that can impact people. If their maiden name on the birth certificate doesn't match the married name on the Social Security card, then we require a bridging document to show that change. The easiest way to remember is there's 3 columns of documents. One, you need your proof of identity. That's typically the birth certificate, a US passport, passport card. We have a whole list of acceptable documents that we'll take on the iDocument Guide so people can find what works best for them. The second column would be proof of Social Security number, which is typically a W-2, 1099, or most popularly, the Social Security card itself. The third column to remember is your proof of residence. So they need 2 examples of that. That's often utility bills. It can be a deed, rental agreement, anything that shows that address and the applicant's name. So we really encourage people to go to the website, drive.ky.gov, and use the iDocument Guide prior to coming to our offices. And we think that'll cut out those unnecessary second and third trips that can be frustrating for people.
That's wonderful. That's a great tool for everyone to take advantage of. It's so important to make sure we have everything and to prepare ourselves to just have a positive experience. So Matthew, is there anything that I left out or that you may have left out that we need to make sure we share with our deaf and hard of hearing or all of our Kentuckians in regards to this driver's license regional centers?
I think we've covered most of the topics at this point. The things that we want to stress are obviously be informed of what you need to bring before you show up. We hate for anyone to have to make an additional trip. And know that this whole program is set up on options. We want people to be able to choose if they want a real ID or a standard, or if they want a 4-year or 8-year credential.
Okay, well, that's another additional information that is very good to know. So we thank you for coming and joining us. I hope this is very helpful to as you're going through your daily life and you just look at your driver's license and you're thinking, I need to go get this done. So this is very helpful. And as always, if there's any questions or any concerns, feel free to contact our office and or contact the transportation cabinet, and we'll be glad to answer any of the questions that you have. At the end of this video, you will see some websites that will help you guide to some of the things that we've talked to in this video. So thank you so much for joining us, Matthew. And as always, it's a pleasure to work with you.
It's great to see you all. And if you need anything, please let us know.